Section 4.5, writing a function rule. Write a function that represents each problem. Y is 5 less than the product of 4 and x. So product means multiplication. So for this, we've got 4x. For something to be 5 less than something, it means you're subtracting 5. And the is in this is our equal sign. So we end up with y equals 4x minus 5. We're going to be writing things in function notation in the next few slides, so here's a good chance to practice that. Function notation means that you take your dependent variable, in this case y, and you put your independent variable right beside it in parentheses. This is function notation, saying y is a function of x equals the rest of your equation. This is a fancy way of writing this. They mean the same thing, it's just a fancier way of writing it. So y of x equals 4x minus 5 is the same thing as y equals 4x minus 5. The next one, c is 8 more than half of n. Well, 8 more than means addition, so we can go 8 plus half of n would be 1/2 n, and once again, the is means equals. So c equals 8 plus 1/2 n. But once again, we can write this in a different form, a form called function notation, where we take our dependent variable, parentheses, our independent variable, equals our equation. The two mean the same thing. One is just written in standard equation format, the other is written in what they call function notation. Recall that the input of a function is called the independent variable. The output of a function is your dependent variable. The dependent variable depends on the independent variable. Formal function rules are written in the form dependent, parentheses, independent, followed by the rule. We just practiced this in the first 2 slides. And as we go through this, it'll become more and more familiar. I know it seems a little strange now, but it's easier to use the more you use it. So we have a word problem. A fitness center charges $100 sign-up fee plus a monthly cost M of $40. Write a function for the total cost C and find the cost for a 4-month membership. So in this case, our independent variable should be months, where our dependent variable is the cost. So that means when we write our function rule, we're going to have dependent variable followed by independent variable in parentheses equals, well, in this case, there's a flat rate charge of $100 per month, or $100 in general, followed by $40 per month. So this is our function rule. The second part of the problem says find the cost for 4-month membership. So that means we're going to plug this in for M. So that means the cost for a 4-month membership is going to be equal to 100 plus 40 times 4. Well, 40 times 4 is 160. So that means the cost for a 4-month membership is $260. The next example, the price P that a moving company charges is $130 for the truck rental plus $1.50 for each mile. What is the cost for 50 miles? So we're highlighting our key information here. All right, so our independent variable should be miles. It's the item we control. Dependent is going to be price. And then our function rule is going to become your dependent variable followed by your independent variable in parentheses equals Well, in this case, they charge $130 to rent the truck plus $1.50 per mile. And so this becomes our function rule. And then they've asked us to evaluate for 50-mile trip. So that means if we plug in 50 for M, we should get that the trip, a 50-mile rental trip, is going to cost us right around $205. A kennel charges $15 per day to board dogs. Upon arrival, each dog gets a flea bath that costs $12. Find the cost C of a 10-day stay. So in this case, your independent variable is days, because you control how many days your dog will be there. The dependent variable, which relies on this, is your cost. The longer you stay, the more it costs. And so your function rule is just going to be dependent variable followed by independent variable in parentheses equals, so C is a function of D, where you're paying $15 per day plus the $12 for the initial flea bath. They want to know the cost after a 10-day stay, so we're going to plug in 10 for D. In this case, for a 10-day stay at the kennel, it's going to cost you right around $162. A landfill has 50,000 tons of waste in it. Each month M, it gains 470 tons of waste. Find the amount of waste W after 8 months. So we're dealing with months, and we're dealing with total waste. So your independent variable in this case is going to be time, the one you control, so it would be months. Where your dependent variable is waste. The longer time goes on, the more waste there'll be. So your function rule in this case starts off the same way in function notation. W of M equals, well, it naturally started with 50,000 tons of waste, and it gains 470 tons per month. And then the last part of the problem is they want to know how much waste will there be after 8 months. So we're going to plug in 8 for M. And when we plug in 8 for M, we're taking 470 times 8 plus 50,000, which should give us right around 53,760 tons of waste. Go ahead and try this one on your own. Determine the independent variable, the dependent variable, write your function rule, and when you're ready to check your answer with mine, unpause the video. So in this case, your independent variable is months, your dependent variable is the total collection size, in this case C. To write your function rule, you're going to have C of M equals 625 plus 15M, because they're gaining 15 songs per month and they started with 625. Then they ask you to figure out how many songs you'll have in 5 months. That means you're plugging in 5 for M. So when you plug in 5 for M, you should get a total of 700 songs after 5 months.